Well, welcome along, everybody. We've got a very interesting man at the other end of the phone here right now. He's got a funny name. It's called Skip Archimedes. All about why he was given that name, and it was quite an amazing story. And recently I went to attend one of his amazing Detox Your Life, week of fasting, eating amazing pills, and listening to Skip, look, they call him the miracle man in Asia, and I have no doubt why they do that. He holds his audience in absolute awe with a lot of the things he says, and so I'm going to ask him a few questions about why he's going down this track, what he's all about, and first off, how did you become a miracle man? I mean, I heard a little bit about your tragic accident, but boy, you turned that around in the most amazing way.
Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me on here, Peter. It's an absolute honour to be here. And when we discussed, you said, look, what I just witnessed you doing the last 5 days is miracle after miracle. And you said, look, I want to bring you onto our platform to share some of these miracles with our audience. So it's an honour to be with everybody here. It really, really is. So the Miracle Man, it's a bit of a gimmick name that was given to me by the press out in Asia. We was running one of my events out there, and if people are Googling me at the moment and saying, who's Skip Archimedes, who's the Miracle Man, they probably won't find anything, because as you know, we've been doing this for the last 12 years, no website, no exposure to the world, because unfortunately, people have been sharing some of the information that I've been sharing are no longer with us, because there are certain powers to be don't want some of this information getting out there, because what it does is it actually allows everybody to become the miracle man or woman of their life. So for me, my story, one of my stories was that I had an accident in the gym. I used to be a gymnast and broke my back, got told I'd never stand or walk again. And tuning in to this intelligence that we created from. I mean, think about what we live in, Peter. We've got these bodies that are our vehicles through life, and we're being gifted 50,000 new cells every 3 seconds. 50,000 new cells, and each cell is like its own little factory worker, or its own little factory within itself. Now, what happens is, as we're regenerating all the time, if we don't give those cells what they need, if we don't have 100% control over the mind, then what can happen is we can break down or we can age. Now, when I got told that I'd never stand or walk again because of this back injury, I believed what I was being told. And my belief system created a reality that had me go to depression, had me go to not wanting to live, had me go to every day, like major suicidal thoughts every day. And what I learned was very simply that we're a body, a mind, and a spirit. But these three things, like these three engines, kind of pull us, most people, in different directions. So they feel like they're being pulled apart. They can be in a relationship, they can feel alone. We're in a world with billions of people, and we can feel alone, or we can feel that we're not enough, or we're not loved. And all of this comes from programming. And what I realized was that I was programmed in so many negative ways, from my upbringing, from my family, from the environment that I grew up in, and it was leading me to toxic thoughts, toxic behaviors, toxic emotions that I didn't have control over. And especially when I had this injury, when they said, that's it, you're never going to stand or walk again, because I believed what I was told, I manifested a reality based from those beliefs. Now, what I learned, and this is kind of, life will do this. Life will force us, especially when we're spirit driven, which I know you are, and hence one of the reasons why we connected so well, was our spirit is going to take us always outside of our comfort zone, because we can't grow in our comfort zone. And on the retreat, you saw me pushing people out of their comfort zone all the time. Why? Because I've got 5 days to radically transform their own mind, their own body, their emotions, their thoughts, their finances. When they go back, we're seeing people now, their business is starting to boom because they're in a different frequency. They've got a new energy breathing through them. But we've got to cleanse a lot of that stuff away. So for me, I hadn't learned how to cleanse that stuff away. And I was just getting stuck in the head. And what I say to people is, if you're in your head, you're dead. And we know that most people's thoughts, we're talking about 90%, according to the psychological model, 90% of people's thoughts in the modern world are negative. So for me, I was just swirling around in these negative thoughts. And when I learned how to bring together the body, the mind, and the spirit, and I did that because my mum comes in one day, she says, look, I don't think it's game over. I found someone. He broke his back. He was in traction in a machine, just moving like this every day to keep the circulation going up and down the body. And he was told that he'd never stand or walk again. And he went on to inspire millions of people around the world. And if he healed himself, you can too. And I was like, who are you talking about? And she goes, Bruce Lee. I said,
I know, I remember going a lot. Yeah.
I was like, maybe. I said, come on, they give him lines what to read. They tell him what to say. She goes, no, I found his life story. Now, she started bringing me everything on Bruce Lee that she could, to the point where I think I ended up knowing Bruce Lee better than his wife. I was just like consumed because I couldn't move. I couldn't go anywhere. So it's bringing me all this stuff in about his philosophies. It led me to study the people who he studied, like the Buddha and Confucius, and these ascended masters where thousands of years after they physically passed, their teachings are still here. So I start absorbing all this stuff, and it changes everything. It changed my beliefs. It changed my thoughts. It changed what I believed was possible. It changed the connection to me, the connection to our planet. It changed the connection to this universe that we're a part of. And it changed the purpose of why I'm in this body. And what I ended up doing was I ended up fully recovering, no surgery, no operation, and nobody thought that was even going to be possible. And we sit down with the family one day, and Mum says to me, look, we've just witnessed a miracle happening. You know, what do you want to do with your life? And I asked the question I ask all my top clients. I said, right, what do you love? Because if you don't love it, your life's not going to get the best out of you. You've got to find the things that you have a big interest in, that you can be passionate about, that you can put love into. And the only thing that I loved at that point was gymnastics. And I look at Mum, I'm thinking, I've got to go back to gymnastics. And I don't say a word, and she looks at me, she goes, you better not be thinking what I think you're thinking. I said, Mum, I've got to go do this. I said, I don't know why. Anyway, I ended up finding myself a world-class coach. He was world champion, 2 times European champion, a gentleman from Bulgaria called Svetozar Jeliaskov. And he took me on as his gymnast. And this is what I want to say, Peter, when we have world-class coaches, it changes the game. He wasn't a good coach. He was a world-class coach. Within 18 months of training with him, I'm stood on the podium, and this is after I've been told I'm never going to stand or walk again. I'm stood on the podium, and they give me the gold medal for the English Sports Acrobatics Championships. Now, what that did for me was it shifted everything. And of course, I had people coming up to me after saying, oh my God, how did you do it? You wasn't meant to be able to stand or walk again, and now you're a champion, as an athlete. And I said, are you asking, or do you really want to know? No, we want to know. So imagine this, I'm I'm literally 51 years old. Now, we're going back 30 years. So imagine 30 years ago, I say to these people, look, do you really want to know? Yeah, we want to know. I said, I'll tell you. They said, well, tell us. And I start talking about energies, frequencies, and vibrations 30 years ago. How do you think that got received?
Wow. I can imagine that them just shaking their heads, right? Just shaking their heads.
Yeah, and they're like, what are you talking about? And they I read people very quickly, and they were like, Skip's got a great story, but this dude's off with the freaking fairies. So I stopped talking about it, went into the business world, not knowing anything about business. But what I understood was energy, frequencies, and vibrations. And we'll hear Einstein say this. We'll hear Nikola Tesla say this. They say, guys, if you want to open up to the best parts of life, you've got to understand energy, frequencies, and vibrations. And that's all we're made of. So, as I said, I took that into the business world. And about 30 years ago, we did our first $1 million in year one. Now, that's still a lot of money in today's world, but 30 years ago, that was a small little fortune. So what we then did was about just over 12 years ago, the career that I was bringing acrobatics to some of the world's biggest shows, and we were having contracts with the Royal Opera House, the Royal Albert Hall. If pop stars and rock stars are putting 80 to 100,000 people into a stadium, my job was to bring the acrobatics to these shows, big West End shows like X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, all these big TV shows. And I kind of had the monopoly on that marketplace. And then the same voice that showed me how to stand, how to walk again, that encouraged me to go within, to find the miracles within, said, right, now you're going to start teaching people this stuff. And I was like, no way. I said, I just spoke about it 30 years ago, and people weren't ready to even contemplate what energy frequencies or vibrations are. And you can't argue with God. This is what I've learned. You can't argue with the supreme intelligence. It's like, you wouldn't have built the pyramids of Chi if you was trying to negotiate with it. It's like, no, we just have to take the direction and know that we're guided throughout that process. Doesn't mean that the challenges won't come up, but what it means is that we're going to be guided through whatever is making us weak, whatever's holding us back, whatever's keeping us in our comfort zone. It will guide us outside our comfort zone so that we can be comfortable by being uncomfortable. And when I just laid my resistance down, we went over to Asia, and we had the Ministry of Health try and shut me down over there. They came to one of my events called Supercharge Life, and they attacked me in front of everyone because I was, saying that we're healing this, and they didn't believe it could be done. And they called me a charlatan in front of my own audience. And I said, look, you need to come and go through this event and witness what happens. Anyway, they did. 4 days later, they're paying me silly amounts of money to go and speak to all of their top directors. And they started the work that I was able to do with celebrities, with world famous CEOs, with world champion athletes, Olympic athletes, and anyone that wants to take their life up to the next level. They just labeled me the Miracle Man. And what happened was, I did an interview for a magazine. They promised us that we would have front cover. They promised us that we would have the center pages. And I got given the magazine, I don't know, about a month or so after I do the interview. And the name that we was trying to kick off was the Naked Health Detective. Not naked because I'm getting naked, but naked because we strip all the BS away. Health, why? We've got to lay health as a foundation, and detective, so that we teach people how to become a detective of their own life. But it wasn't taken off. And whoever done this interview said, oh, go to the center pages for the interview with the Miracle Man. I thought they didn't even put a name on it. So I chucked the magazine down, go and have a shower, come back out, I'm having some breakfast, and I think, right, let me just see who this Miracle Man is. And I turned the center pages, and it was me. And I called up Tracy, and I was like, Tracy, what the hell is this Miracle Man stuff? And she says, that's what they're calling you. I said, but that's not what our brand is. Our brand is the Naked Health Detective. And she said, look, people are calling you the Miracle Man. And I remember I was doing an interview with, there was Wim Hof, the Iceman, and myself, and we were both being interviewed, and the guy said, I'm so happy today, I've got the Iceman, I've got the Miracle Man. I looked at him and went, we don't even have names anymore. And he goes, Skip, take it. He goes, it's a great name. And what it allows me to do, Peter, is it allows me to just remind people that if they're breathing, if they've got a heart that's beating, if they can focus their mind, they are born to make miracles happen. So it allows me to reflect back to people what the truth is, because we're all the miracle. But we've got to get rid of the negative programming. We've got to connect to the right type of beliefs, the right type of lifestyles, the right type of environments. And this is why now, for the last 12 years, I've dedicated my life to helping people to live a life of miracles.
What a fantastic story. I have heard it before, but I'm so glad you shared it with the audience, because it's something that I've shared many, many times with others about just how you overcame such an incredible challenge in your life. And, I've seen you do the backflips. I've seen you stand on your bloody head. Unbelievable. And there's a man that was supposed to be a paraplegic. So well done, Skip. Well done. So, look, having been through the detox of life, you said earlier on there how a lot of the people that came along are now finding difference in their business and such. I personally have had the most incredible changes happen to me as a result of that incredible almost 6 days of pretty intensive stuff. I mean, you know how to drive somebody. Folks, Skip had us up at 7 o'clock. No, didn't have us up. He had us doing yoga. And for a man of my age, just done yoga a long time, that was a challenge. But then, apart from a 4-hour break during the day, we were still there at 11 o'clock at night. And we're all gobbling up this information he's giving. So look, Skip, how about just sharing with the audience why is detoxing so important in today's world?
Oh my God, it's everything. And I just want to carry on from what you were saying about the yoga, because I remember you came to me and you were like, Skip, not really a yoga fan, that particular process, I think I miss that one out every day. And I was like, you can't miss one of the processes that all the ingredients, it's like baking a cake. You need all of the ingredients in a certain order to do that. And what my promise is to people is that they leave those 5 days looking and feeling 5 to 10 years younger, but to the point where they feel reborn. And you witnessed that yourself. And part of the reason why is, number one, we stop the poisoning. Now, what happens is in today's world is people are poisoning themselves without realizing it. So where are these toxins coming from? Because when people say, a lot of my top clients, they can be like super, super wealthy. But the challenge is if they're having a toxic buildup, so what happens is if we get a buildup of these toxins, because people say, oh yeah, but Skip, come on, when you get older, things break down. I'm like, rubbish. When you get toxic, things break down. Or what makes us weak as well, Peter, is decreased workload. So we have to put a demand on our bodies for the body to get strong. Now, what happens within the 5-day experience detox life that you went through? So the first thing is we stop the poisoning. So what's the poisoning? Most people are poisoning themselves with what they're eating. Then they're poisoning themselves with what they're drinking. Then they're poisoning themselves with thoughts that are coming from their own mind, emotions that are being released into the system. And we know that, our thoughts can make us well, our thoughts can make us ill, our thoughts can make us rich, our thoughts can make us poor. Our thoughts can make us in fear, our thoughts can make us in love. So we've got to be in control of our own thoughts. Now, the challenge is so much programming has gone into the mind so that most people's subconscious programming is negative. So what we've got to do is I have to deal with and cleanse the physical body. Then there's a lot of physical pains that people are experiencing in today's world, and they don't come from a physical injury. They're coming from these trapped emotional energies. So then we have to cleanse the emotional body. Then we've got to cleanse the mental body. Then we've got to cleanse the energetic body, because and we've got many bodies. Now, what you notice, as you said, like we were starting at 7:30 7 a.m. doing yoga. Now, if you remember, we had you doing a headstand on day one. Day one!
No, that was just incredible. And, Lynn still looks at that and says, at your age, you're doing headstands. What's wrong with you? But, seriously, everybody, I turned 76 a couple of weeks ago, and here I am doing a headstand that couldn't believe it myself. But look, that's what the miracle man can do for you, I saw other people at the conference there that were not maybe as old as me, but maybe they weren't in as good a shape as I was. I don't know. But boy, they were doing handstands and they were doing things with yoga that I can only dream about. So, yeah, well done, Skip, for, bringing us out of our comfort zone and pushing us. And we were pushed, everybody. But at the end of the day, boy, I felt great, because I knew that not only had I overcome something I thought was impossible, but the body, my mind, everything else was clear, it was good. And, 11 o'clock at night, all I wanted to do was go home to bed. I hadn't eaten all day. And after the third or fourth day, I was desperately ready for food. But then I thought, no, okay, this is cool. This is good. But what amazes me with this whole detoxing, and it really was quite something when it happens, is it that important that you should do this every year, Skip?
Oh, majorly. Well, let me break something down to make it so simple. There are, I'm back in London now, so I just walk out my door because I'm in bang central London. So I walk out my door, I'm breathing in toxic fumes immediately. So there's toxins in the air we breathe. There's toxins in the drinks we drink. There's toxins in the foods we eat. We're creating toxins by living in toxic relationships. And if we don't clear those toxins out regularly, something's going to shut down. We see it all the time. Something will break down. People will lose their eyesight. An organ will shut down. Something will slow down in the body. They'll start getting all these aches and pains. Health is our birthright, Peter. I mean, let me make it make common sense. If we're given 50,000 new cells every 3 seconds, and we're made of trillions of cells, and a year from now, most of the cells in our body are brand new cells. Even in 7 years, our bones are brand new cells. So how come disease can live in the body? Because it's getting trapped in there. So let me explain how this stuff works. Imagine that we are made of nothing but tubes, like a pipe, like a pipe that, a tube that water would travel through. Now, if we look at the largest tube in the body, it's called the alimentary tract. It has a front door and it has a back door. It should be groceries going in and garbage going out. But for most people, garbage is going in, so I'm not going to talk about what's coming out. Now, the problem is with that is if stuff is going in that's dead or processed and the planet didn't make it naturally, that's going to have a negative effect on that person from an energy point of view, from an acidic point of view. Now, when we're born as babies, we're alkaline. When most people die, they're acidic. You look at Duracell batteries, Energizer batteries, why do they last 7 times longer? Because they're alkaline. So our organs and stuff, they all need to be alkaline, but for most people, they're creating these acidic lifestyles. So what happens is they're literally destroying their own body. Like their body is their temple. Now, we look at tubes, so that's the largest tube in the body. You look at the heart alone, there's hundreds of thousands of tubes coming off the heart. We could take out one lung and undo one lung, and it would literally cover half a tennis court with nothing but tubes. We look at our veins. Blood travels through the veins, it acts as a tube. If we go even inside the bones, you see when people have got osteoporosis, what's happening? You see these tubes form. So what happens is, everything is working as a tube. Now, we look at hair, it helps let gases escape, helps with body temperature regulation. It acts as a tube. Now, let's say we go down to cellular level. Stuff goes into the cell, and then it assimilates what it needs, and it eliminates the waste. So it acts exactly like a tube. Now, the medical industry will confuse things. And if they keep you confused, they can keep you guessing. And I mean, most people can now, decide if it's a sick care system or a healthcare system. I think most people know now what the truth is. So we understand that the system, unfortunately, is making people worse and worse and worse. Now, let's say that we have got nothing, but we're made of nothing but tubes. Now, I've done this talk in front of thousands of the world's top medical experts and doctors. And I said, in 5 years, you study what drugs to give people. I said, that's it. I don't even have to take health as an option. If you take it, listen to this, if they opt in for the health part, it's 5 hours out of 5 years of study. Now, I study health, not illness. That's like studying poverty if you want to become a millionaire. It doesn't make any sense. You want to be financially free, follow what's going to literally lead you to become financially free. Don't go and study, people who are living on the streets. So we've got to study the health. Now, health is our birthright. Now, think about this. I've just mentioned that what we are is made of nothing but tubes. So if there's anything wrong with the human system, there has to be something wrong with the tubes. So what can go wrong with the tube? Well, we can burn them. If we have operations, they'll burn certain tubes. We can cut them. We can have them go weak inside and barrel up and burst. Or listen to this. This is 90% of all the complications that humans are living with. We can block them. So what's blocking the tubes? That white stuff that appears on people's teeth if they don't brush their teeth, that plaque, that's what's blocking the tubes. Now listen to this one, Peter. Here's the kicker. If a tube gets blocked going towards the heart, what is that person going to experience?
Yeah, heart attack, yeah.
Heart attack. If the tubes get blocked going up to the mind, what will those people experience?
Stroke.
A stroke. So what we're going to make sure we do is we unblock the tubes. So that's why, every single year, there has to be a proper cleanse. If we study any of these ancient civilizations, they were cleansing on a regular basis. But the challenge is for a lot of people is they're going through this fasting, and fasting is one of the best ways. However, they're not doing them in the right ways. And we're seeing people now that are doing certain fasts that are traditionally run, but it's actually making their immunity worse. It's making their body weight worse. It's making their mental state worse because they haven't understood what's fundamentally needed to give this intelligence that we are living in what it needs to thrive. Most people are doing it to survive, but what you've witnessed in just 5 days, and we have all the technology that reads everything, and we could see people's auric field, their energy being expansive. We could see that even though we didn't eat for 5 days, people were leaving with more nutrients in their blood, which is like the bricks building the house. It allows the house to regenerate. So, people start seeing in focus who wore glasses for 10, 20, 30 years, and suddenly they're now seeing in focus. Or people who have had aches and pains or back pains or who were getting headaches. All of this stuff is now being eradicated from their experience. Why? Because we've honored the thing that they live in. And the challenge is, Peter, people don't put themselves first. They'd invest more money in a car, they'd invest more money in a house or a holiday. But I say, listen, when you're living in a body that functions at super high levels, wherever you go is going to feel like a holiday. Whereas we've seen it with some people, they could be first class wherever, but if their body is suffering or their mind or emotions are suffering or their relations are suffering, their experience is going to be one of suffering. So what we want is to understand that we can have freedom in today's world if we honor what we live in at the highest levels. And detoxing, especially in today's world, should be one of the most important things that people study. Because if they don't study how to cleanse and detox, that buildup of the trash inside can end up causing disaster down the road. So, what I truly believe is prevention is worth way more than the cure. Can we cure stuff? Of course we can, 100%. So we've got to stop the poison, we've got to start the cleansing, but then we've got to start to get activated as well. And that's why you saw me putting pressure on people where, sometimes people are like, we're going to bend now like that. We got another process to go through. Like, what? Are you kidding? I'm like, guys, you're outside the comfort zone. You gave me the honor of being your world-class coach. And that's what I want to be, is I want to push you beyond your own limitations so that we all cross that finish line together. And you just saw, what a big celebration it was when we all crossed that finish line together. It's pretty magical.
Well, I have to say, everybody, that the whole workshop was a shock to my system. I've seen plenty of workshops and retreats here at the Pyramids of Chi. We've got one running right now. People come, they're looking for answers all the time. They're looking for, why am I not feeling well? Why is it not happening right for me? What is not happening that should be happening? And everybody says it should just be there, but it's not. And so I can honestly say, hand on heart, that having lived through, Skip's marathon effort of, 5.5 days of, no food, drinking water, a little bit of lemon and salt, big deal, but I know why you did it. And of course, seeing the other people there that all spent around about £8,000 each, that's probably around about $13,000-14,000 Australian. To me, that seems like a hell of a lot of money to spend to detox yourself. But you know what? At the end of it, I can see the value. I can truly see the value. If you really want to have a healthy life, a long life, then you got to be prepared to, move out of that comfort zone. You got to be prepared to go through some pain and go in there with an open mind, because it really is something that you have to come to grips with. So how do you find us? You've been, broaching the subject with people that all of a sudden this is going to cost a lot of money. And are you prepared to, spend that money?
Well, it's a really good question, Peter, because when we list it at like £8,000, which you said like what, sort of 12,000-13,000 Australian dollars, initially when people hear that price, they're like, "You're crazy! How can you justify charging that amount of money?" Well, if people are living this toxic lifestyle, they're going to break down at some point, because what we now know, these are the stats. Like, I didn't make these stats up. They're now saying in today's world, 2 out of every 3 people are either going to get a cancer, a heart disease, or a diabetes. That's just the top 3. Now, the challenge is the system doesn't look at your lifestyle. The system doesn't look at this. You're going to go and they're just going to operate. They're going to want to give you a type of drugs, which we now know that their medication has side effects. So when they're given these drugs, the side effects now are showing what? Death written in there. Now, here's what we want. We want to make sure that we're healthy, we're energized. Now, really making sure that when people come and they invest, now, as I said, it's not an expense, it is an investment. So when people invest like £80,000 to come, there is always resistance from some people before saying, it's so much money for just 5 days. And I said, you don't understand. What we do is we compress decades into these 5 days. And as you saw at the end, when I asked people, I said, Leo, was it worth your financial investment? Was it worth your time investment? We've never had one person say no. They always say, Skip, this was literally the best investment that I've ever given myself. Because just like how these ascended masters like Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad, they would fast for 40 days and 40 nights. I think that we've taken that 40-day process where people can learn how to walk that enlightened path in literally just 5 days. So it is an investment, and if people value themselves and really want the best out of life, then you can't do it without cleansing and detoxing it. And as you've noticed, there's a gazillion detox and cleansing retreats around the world. There's a gazillion yoga retreats around the world. There's a gazillion meditation retreats around the world. This is something different. This is, as I said, we start early with everyone, we finish late, and we show people how, just like if you're going to squeeze a lemon, you want to get as much of that lemon juice out of that lemon, you want to get every drop out. We get every drop out of every day of really living a detoxed life, because then people understand what we are. And we are these divine creations. We are supreme intelligence. We are the universe reshaped in physical form. And the truth is, what we have within us is God. So we're like a fragment. It's like taking a drop out of the ocean. We are the ocean, but with these minds and these bodies, we're a drop. But what we can do is we can tune people into these high frequencies where they learn how to discover some magic within them. And that's why when they go back to their normal lives, their relationships transform, their businesses transform, their money transforms, their energy transforms, their immunity transforms, because we've now given them the tools. It's not like we're just dumping more information in people's minds. What I do is I'll talk and I'll be planting the seeds with the information. But then there's 49 processes that, as you know, we take people through over those 5 days. And through them going through the processes, that's where they get to access this intelligence that's within them. And they just get a charge up for life. You know, their creativity goes up, their productivity goes up, and their respect for life goes up. And that's why you saw like the group consciousness bonding in ways where these people end up leaving with closer relationships to people on the 5 days than they have with their own family. Why? Because now they're connecting in these higher frequencies. And that's where the magic of life is born, is understanding that we're playing a game of consciousness. You know, if we don't change our own consciousness, you can have all the money in the world and it can turn you into a horrible person. So what we've got to make sure is that we turn ourselves into these divine beings in physical form. And when we do that, miracles open up daily.
Fantastic. Well, I must admit that you threw some challenges at everybody at the workshop. And one of the challenges that did concern me a little bit at the beginning, and I'd like you to just give me a bit of an overview as to, you know, having a film crew there and filming the whole experience. Some of those people had some real serious meltdowns as, you know, things came to the fore, they released stuff. They were in an interesting state, and full marks to Laura for, you know, all the care and the love, and the same came from so many others there on the day. How did those people feel about you having a camera there, filming their tough time?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because when I say to people, look, I've been guided, like you, how you were guided to build the pyramids, I've been guided to serve humans. And in that guidance, I can't argue, I can't negotiate, I just have to do what I'm told. Now, even though we've kept ourselves behind closed doors, and I've been kind of like a ninja, rocking up on people's stages, being in sort of stealth mode, this was the first year that I got guided to start to take some of these teachings to the public. Now, one of the ways to do that is to meet people on a screen. So when we had the film crew there, we told everyone before, you know, they purchased their tickets to say, look, we're going to be filming this event. And if you're not happy being filmed, then please don't come. And we're only filming so that when you've broken through a challenge, and it doesn't matter what the challenge is, it could be a physical challenge, a mental challenge, an emotional challenge, a financial challenge, a relationship challenge, a family challenge, a personal challenge, whatever the challenge is, when you've broken through that, and you will, and we filmed the before and after, we might want to share some of that footage with other people to inspire them and to show them what's possible. Because as I shared with you at the beginning, Peter, without Bruce Lee pretty much doing what I did, I'd probably still be stuck in traction. I'd probably still be being a victim in life. Now, what Bruce Lee did for me was it changed my belief system. Now, we filmed this documentary there called Reborn, and it's showing that to get reborn, usually we have to go through a little bit of a challenge. So when people are bringing their stuff up, it's like if I've got a bubble here and I've got like something blocking that bubble. If I remove that block and the bubble goes up to the surface, I can never get that bubble back ever again. Now, what happens is people's crap from the past bubbles up. So what happens is, as their thing bubbles up, if they can go into therapy, they're just going to talk about the challenge even more. If they usually go and share it with a friend or a relative or a work colleague or whoever, usually that challenge gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Whereas what I do is, as we go through these processes, their stuff comes up, and you saw people dropping like flies and popping like popcorn. Why? Because they're releasing this stuff. So what happens is, when they released it, it's gone. And I didn't have to sit down and talk with them. I didn't have to sit down and go through a therapy session. All I had to do was to be able to get them into a higher frequency so that they can connect to that intelligence within them. And they now understand, oh my God, I was holding on at this thing from the past. I was holding on to this belief, this habit. I was holding on to something that was making my life worse because I was just holding on to it. So when we learn how to let go and release that stuff, then we're free. Now, when people are free, they don't mind their story being shown. So we say to them, look, we're only ever going to show some video footage when you are free, when you've broken through it. And we captured some olden footage, what it's like to release this stuff. Because it's not pleasant to look at. And if you don't understand it, then what we can do is we can let that stuff become more toxicity that we're releasing in the system. Whereas when it's gone, it's now gone. And when we show people their before and afters, they're like, how you just did this in 5 days is a miracle, because I've had this for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years sometimes more than that, depending on the age of the person. And when it's gone, they say, share it with as many people as you can to inspire people, to show, if you want to use me as an example to inspire someone, then please do. So we only do that from the point of using their story as a before and after to inspire people, to show them what's possible. I mean, we've had situations, Peter, where we've had instant healings. We've had people who have been born blind. People have been born dead. And coming here, I mean, I hear about blind ones all the time. We haven't experienced a blind one yet, but we've had someone who was born deaf, had 6 operations throughout her life to try and hear again, and each operation failed, so it didn't work. They then said to her in her 40s that she can't have any more operations done because there's too much scar tissue there. She can't have a hearing aid fitted for the condition that she's got. And I met her at 53, and she'd gone all of that time with no hope of ever hearing again. And when we have people come in and they can't hear the spoken word, but they can watch someone do sign language, they can still get the communication, they just can't hear it. Now, she left that retreat hearing perfect in one ear. She came back 6 months later to carry on detoxing and cleansing, because we got as much as we out as we could in 5 days. Came back again 6 months later, and still 6-7 years on, she still got perfect hearing in both ears. Now, we're all the miracle, but if we don't have someone in front of us pushing us so that we can discover a new strength, a new balance, a new flexibility to boost up our immunity so that we can now be protected, our own energy could turn against us. So what we want to make sure is that our energy is used to create a better life. First of all for ourselves, then for our loved ones and our communities, and then that can spread out into the world. And when we start to plug people into that, that's where I truly start to believe that we start creating the new superhuman race that I believe our world needs, because humans now we become toxic to the planet, we become toxic to the animal kingdom, we become toxic to each other, we become toxic to ourselves. So without cleansing on a regular basis, it's just too challenging to try and win at the game of life. And we are in a game. This game is going to be over before we know it. And, when you mentioned about the money, no one takes the money to the next game. It stays here. So it's so important to be able to use that money to invest in themselves so that we get to discover what is within. And what is within is all the answers that anyone has questions for.
Right. Mate, you've answered that question very well, and thanks for that. Everybody, we're getting near to the end of this because I know Skip's got another commitment coming up. We're working with Skip. I'm so impressed in many, many ways. And I think probably the one that had the biggest impact on me, Skip, was we were there and there's, I don't know, like 25 people there, and they're all strangers, or some of them had been before, and some of them knew your assistants, obviously knew you, but the majority of them were the complete strangers. And all walks of life, all different cultures. And I was wondering, how is he going to overcome, the natural reticence of people, in mixing in such an important and probably challenging workshop? Well, I have to say, Skip, every time you brought up on your screen, now you've got to go and hug 10 people. And I know I made a bit of a fool of myself out first time and say, come on, folks, let's do the heart-to-heart hug, not the politician's hug. And by the end of that week, people weren't just hugging. They were being affectionate. They were being super friendly. They were sharing stuff that we probably would not have done if we just met somebody in a day or two beforehand. So it really was quite something to see them come together as a team, as a group, as a bunch of people with a common interest, and that was to, do more with our lives and just carry on in the humdrum way that we do, and, desperately trying to destroy our bodies and our minds, and a lot of other things as well. So what we'd like to do, and we're going to be working on it with Greg out at GM, on how we can bring some of your masterclass workshops to our people. And I think that this interview has literally brought to me the value in what we should be doing in this case, because people really do need to connect in many, many ways. And doing a class like your master classes, like your Cougar Foods, all the rest of it, enables people to be able to come out of their shell somewhat. And I was quite amazed at some of the people there and how they came along, and probably wouldn't have said boo to a goose, but then by the end of it, they were getting up and talking like they've been doing public speaking all their lives. And it was just a confidence level that you brought to them all. It was so, so special. So I think we're going to move fairly quickly on this one. Let's see if we can bring your message to our people. We've got plenty of them on our database, and bring some of those messages that you, give so freely. And let's either get them up to Bali or bring them online and get moving on that as soon as we can.
I love it. Well, look, because, you and I connected in so many beautiful ways when we first met, Peter, and I truly believe it's because we are spirit-driven. And these masterclasses, I go onto other people's platforms and we charge a lot of money for these masterclasses because it's my life's work going into these masterclasses. But you did say to me, look, can we give our audience a gift? And this is the gift that I'd like to be able to gift them. So what I'd like to be able to do, there's a saying out there called the secret of living is giving. And obviously the first person we have to give to is ourselves. So if you're watching this right now and you are serious about wanting to understand more about cleansing, more around detoxing, and there's a saying out there called the secret of living is giving. And obviously the first person that we have to give to is ourselves. But when we've given to ourselves and our cup is filled up, everything that overspills, if we give that away, that's how we start to live in abundance. So we charge literally thousands of dollars. When I've been paid to go on people's platforms to deliver masterclasses like this, they paid me literally tens of thousands to go up and give it to their companies, give it to their organization. We're going to give this to your audience totally for free, but they have to invest one thing, their time. They've got to invest about 90 minutes to be there. And not where they're going to listen to it like a podcast, but because we're going to be giving it in a visual way. Now, most of us absorb most of our information visually. So they've got to be prepared to commit 90 minutes in front of a screen And what we're going to be going through, we're calling it Detox for Miracle Self-Healing. Now, we are self-healing machines. Like if we cut ourselves on the outside, we're going to watch ourselves heal. Now, you saw me rock up with a broken ankle where only literally a couple of months ago did I snowboard off a mountain in a storm where we couldn't see the mountain. Unfortunately, the mountain disappeared from me. And the ankle broke in 2 places. They had to drill in 6 pins and put a plate in there. And they said I was going to be out for like 5 months. And that was 2 months ago. And you saw me out there delivering from 7:30 in the morning till like 11:30 at night, non-stop. Now,
30 headstand. 30 headstand.
All of it. Now, and this is how phenomenal we are as humans. So I want everyone to be able to discover the miracle within themselves. But for that, they've got to understand detoxing and cleansing. So we're going to go in a deep dive of that. They're going to get to understand that they are the miracle. So there is going to be a link around here. They're going to have to click that link to register. And then what we'll do is we'll send them an invite into when we're going to be doing the masterclass. So they'll be given a day and a time. And it's so important for them to rock up live to this recording. And as I said, I'm gifting it to them. If you don't show up, we're not going to gift it to you. So if you show up, I promise you will get some life-changing nuggets. You'll get some life-changing tools. And whether it's, if you want to heal your own mind or body, your relationships, your career, your finances, it doesn't matter the area that needs healing. The same mechanisms we got to get spinning. Now, that healing is going to change at different chapters. So, sometimes it will be our finances, sometimes it will be our own emotions or our mind or something physical. So learning this stuff, what I truly believe is it's going to be a gift for you and your loved ones. It's like for me, when I learned this stuff, I couldn't believe how powerful this was. And when I took it back to my own family, I got my mum now, who's in her 80s, and my mum couldn't walk from one side of the room to the other without being in serious pain. She was losing her height. She was having many operations in and out of hospital. She was obese, diabetes, like high cholesterol, low blood pressure, you name it, she had it. And you saw her, at the retreat sending messages into the group saying, guys, I just swam 100 lengths today. She was over at my place over in Spain, and she was going through it with us. And this works for all ages. So we're going to gift that to your audience, but they've got to show up. They've got to be hungry to want to change. They've got to be coachable, because what I'm going to be sharing, it will challenge some people's belief systems. But here's what I know to be true. Only in the truth can we be free. So if people really do want to live a life of freedom and they're prepared to do what it takes, then click that link that's going to be around here, get yourself registered, and it will be an honor to take you through those 90 minutes. And as I said, we're calling that masterclass Detox Miracle Self-Healing. So if you want some of that, click that link and we'll let you know when we're going to do that. And it's going to be a beautiful education. We'll have a lot of fun. As when I teach stuff, I always like to bring that fun element. So we don't take life too serious, but we've got to be serious about learning that we are miracle makers. We've got to learn about detox and cleansing, and we've got to understand how we can start to live a life of miracles. So we're going to be going through all of that in literally about 19 minutes.
Yep, thanks very much for making that offer, for coming on this interview, and for all of you listening to this. I encourage you to make an investment of your time. It's not about money, it's about your time. And I often use that analogy. I don't want to be the man in my deathbed saying, if only I'd spent more time at the office. Right? I want to make the most out of my life, and I want the best that I can get. And Skip's introduced some fantastic opportunities to all of us. So invest a bit of time. 90 minutes is not a big deal, everybody, out of your life. And it's definitely worth listening to. And then you listen to your heart. If your heart tells you you should be doing more, ignore that head, because that stuff in there keeps your ears apart, not necessarily in your favor. So listen to your heart. If your heart just says to you, hey, it's time for me to make that move. It's time for me to, really think more about, having a better life. It's not about having a new car every year. Maybe it's more about spending time with your children or your grandchildren or, what you're eating. So listen to Skip when he does come on, and I really appreciate you making that offer, Skip. But come on, listen to it, and when that comes through, take it on board. Don't dismiss it. Don't think, oh, well, wasn't worth doing. You will not. I guarantee you now you'll think, wow, that was the best 90 minutes I've spent in a long time. And, who knows where we go from there. So thanks again, Skip. But we'll look forward to talking again very soon. And greetings from Bali.
Beautiful. And thank you, Pete, for inviting me on here. And I really hope that whoever's been here watching this, I hope you got some value from this. But yeah, just use this as a stepping stone to take the next step. And that really is, come and join us for this 90 minutes. I won't hold back. If you want to really learn how to get living in a body that works at super high levels, living in a frequency where you can start to make miracles happen, that's what we're going to be going through in that masterclass. So thank you again, Peter, and everyone who's been here. Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thanks, buddy.